I'm sure this is a universal problem, but in the UK, supermarket trolleys are absolutely atrocious. They don't steer anywhere, they get stuck, their wheels are all sticking out in different directions, which means that they don't go in the direction you're pushing them in. And Supermarket Shriek absolutely leans into this by making a party game where the supermarket trolley is absolutely chaotic to drive, and you've got to do a supermarket sweep trolley dash to get as many ingredients as you can that are on your shopping list and then get out again within a set period of time. There's also local multiplayer party modes to be had too, but the key around this is that you're using the triggers on your controller to steer the cart around, and this is where the co-op experience comes in. You can have up to 8 players across 4 controllers controlling one side of the supermarket trolley, because there are 2 people trapped inside each trolley trying to steer it around. So pressing down the left trigger will make the trolley steer left, right, and then both together makes it kind of power forward on the rockets that it's powered by. However, when you're trying to do that as a co-op experience, trying to coordinate all of that is quite good fun. And the fun behind this is that you can turn on the Shriek mode. Now this means that your controllers have the listening function of its microphone on, and it will steer dependent on the noise that you're making. Now this works quite nicely if you've got 2 controllers where actually each one is controlling a left and a right hand side, because then you'll both be going into your controller to try and get something sorted. But obviously if you're then having an argument with your co-op player because they're doing something wrong, that's noise which will then contribute to your supermarket trolley just spinning off on its axis and being totally out of control. So it's absolute chaos. I don't recommend it for long periods of time because you'll get an absolute headache, but it is good fun, and it's a good innovative but Marmite audio decision to include screaming into the microphone as a way to control this game. You can just settle with the triggers though, and I generally recommend that for longer sessions because this game is really addictive and fun to play once you get used to the way how the handling of the physics of the trolley works. Now, taking all of the jank of a real supermarket trolley and putting it into a game is potentially a bit of a daring decision, but this game handles much more like a drifting racing game because you can let up and down on those triggers to make one screaming person louder than another as they scream to go round the corners. So that then means that you can do proper drift turns around aisles of supermarkets. It can also mean that you can then floor it together and try and get a boost to then go over a ramp and get over a fire pit that's in the middle of your supermarket, because of course why not? And you can enjoy all of the ridiculousness and the hints of what I would call British culture. This game has a quirky, cheeky, comedic vibe to it that reminds me of early 90s Codemaster games, because there's made up names for Tesco, Lidl's, Aldi, Sainsbury's, all of those kind of well-known UK supermarkets. And when you get inside, there's hints of themes of them in there, but actually once you're inside, it's about trying to get around all of the different obstacle courses that the 38 supermarkets give you, getting to the end of them and hopefully getting out within a set period of time. More difficult than perhaps you would expect. There is a real difficulty curve in this game, but what I really like is just the variance of the different things that it does. So you've got the shopping list levels, which is where you're trying to get all of the different ingredients and then get out again in the quickest possible time. There's race modes where it's set out like a proper racetrack and you're trying to beat your opponent, but actually sometimes they've got a slightly different route, and so occasionally it'll look like they've got the upper hand and advantage, but then they'll have a longer final route at the end, so then you can kind of catch up and have a real grandstand finish, and I love that. There's also, in the multiplayer modes, a sumo one where you can kind of smash into each other and try and push people off the screen and damage them. And in an elimination mode, easy for me to say, that enables you to pick off ingredients and kind of damage other players and be the last person in the trolley standing. The main part for me, though, is this whole story mode, because there is a real engrossing, full-on story mission here that is all about trying to make Supermarket Shriek an engaging and different experience. So all of those modes come in, but then there's other ones where it's things like don't smash all of the baked bean tins, because depending on how much baked beans there are on the floor and how much juice there is and how dirty the floor is depends on the percentage score that you get on the end, for example. There's also like lots of party things on stuff. So there'll be like floor tiles that will boing out and will push you out of the stage and you'll lose. There's like swimming pools in the middle that you don't want to fall into. You've got like timers to try and extend the timer so that you can get to the end of the level as quickly as possible. It feels like a really well thought out, fully fledged party game that is totally playable as a fully single player experience as well. And not many party games do that and pay so much attention to a really fully fledged single player experience. And I've spent way more time in a single player world than I have in a local multiplayer world with this, because it is so engrossing and I keep going back to levels thinking, come on, I can get the gold. And yeah, it just really, really, really engages me. If you like Takeshi's Castle, if you like obstacle courses, it's a knockout. That kind of humour, Nippon Marathon would be another example. This game should be right up your street, particularly if you prefer driving games over perhaps like running games, if that makes sense, because of the drifting mechanics of this. But it is just such a good blast to play. This came out a couple of years ago. I don't think it got much of a fanfare at all, but I bought it on day one because I knew I would love it. And I'm delighted to say that years later, I'm still going back and playing this game, and it's really withstood the test of time for me because of how ridiculous it is. I've not had the opportunity to try it in too many local multiplayer kind of nights out because, you know, COVID and all of that kind of stuff. But this is one that I intend to wheel out much more often in the future because it's just a ridiculously stupid game and you can't help but smile and laugh and go, Jesus Christ, as you go and like crash into your supermarket trolley and die in the middle of Lidl's. Written review will be over on higherplayinggames.com. This is definitely a Smithy special recommend because, it's just a personal favourite and I probably give it more of a reviewer's tilt because of that, because I've had a couple of years of really, really good experiences playing it. So yeah, well done. Written review over on higherplayinggames.com. Supermarket Shriek. Don't sleep on it. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.